Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hyperconscious Podcast. Alan, what is hyperconscious?
Once you understand why something is the way that it is, now you have the power to change it. Great conversations with great people and great questions are the keys to the kingdom of unlocking your consciousness.
Every single action that you do starts as a thought. When you control the way you think, you will control the way you act, and you will control the way you live. That is hyperconscious. Geographically? Geographically. This is cool. So I would say make sure that pretty face is showing.
Yes, true.
They're going to want to see that thing. They're going to want to see that thing, Alan. That face. You good? Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest Small Talks episode where Alan and I talked all about gratitude and keep letting us know what you're grateful for. Today, we are going to do a Scratching the Surface episode on fitness. So I'm going to set the intention now, and I have already set the intention to add as much value in this episode as possible, where if you're listening or watching this, when you leave this episode, you will leave with a greater knowledge than when you entered with. That is my goal. That is my intention. And I want it to be something that you can start doing now and something that's not super overwhelming.
I couldn't agree more. So,
You need the timer.
oh, I'll set the timer.
Okay, Craig.
Do you want to hold space?
Yeah, I'll hold space. So Alan and I, fitness is something that we practice daily. Everything Alan does, basically for the most part, is for the greater good, for the future of fitness, for what he's going to look like when he's 40, for when he has a show, all of these things. So Alan is definitely more extreme than I am with a lot of things, I think. But I think that I'll bring the perspective of something that's a little bit more relatable because, you know, I am a savage, but in a relatable way.
I couldn't agree more. So the first thing, the intention that I've set on this episode is...
So I can see the clock.
Oh, it's 19:32. 20 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So before I was interrupted, I thought I was supposed to interrupt you.
Well, things
so
have changed.
The intention that I want to set is this. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Kevin and I were talking in the preamble a little bit how fitness is kind of like the Wild West. I think there's a giant tornado of misinformation out there about fitness and about what it really takes to succeed in the fitness arena. Here's why. The fundamentals, there are no new fundamentals. There's a great Jim Rohn quote. He says, someone who's trying to sell you new antiques, you got to be a little cautious. There are no new fundamentals. There are no new antiques. So my 5 pillars of fundamental fitness that I base my coaching program on are sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility. Now, here's why those things are not as talked about as much as I think they should be, and I think it's because most people out there, and this is through no fault of their own necessarily, but first of all, sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility are a little less sexy than some of the other things, but more importantly, you can't really sell them because you don't need anything external to do those 5 things, really, except for mobility, in which case you need a foam roller. So the first thing I want to say in this episode is this. I want you to become a master. If you want to be in shape, first of all, being in shape is the greatest thing ever.
Oh, yeah?
If you think of the antithesis of being healthy and capable, it's being ill and incapable. Being incapable is the worst, and I've been there. As a matter of fact, I talked about that a lot on the last episode. So if you are grateful for your health, I want you to show that by choosing to become a master of fitness. And what I mean by that is give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I want you to learn how to fish, and that's our goal on this episode, to teach you the fundamentals that actually make the biggest difference.
All right, so I'm just going to jump right into it. This is something that I really felt pulled to talk about when I was actually doing legs on Sunday by myself, and I was just thinking of some things and watching different people work out and knowing the habits of some of these people and thinking to myself, okay, why aren't they getting the results that they want? Why are they saying they're getting the results that it doesn't look like they're getting? Right? And I'll get into that. Like, you'll understand why I'm saying that. So I don't care what you do for a nutritional program. I don't care if it's Herbalife. I don't care if it's the Self Beach diet. I don't care if it's Atkins. I don't care if it's low carb. I don't care if it's low fat. I don't care if it's paleo. I don't care if it's any of those things. The reason you're losing weight on that program is because it's creating a caloric deficit. I could literally make you a shake called the Kevin Paul Mary Hyperconscious Shake that has 200 calories. It's 200 calories. And if you're usually eating a 600 calorie breakfast and you're staying the same, it will create a caloric deficit and you will lose weight. Right? That's the only... Now, maybe some of these are packed with nutrients. Fine. Eat vegetables. Juice some vegetables and some fruits, and you'll get the same nutritious value there. It just bothers me to my core to see people spending hundreds of dollars a month on shakes and supplements that they don't need that really aren't doing anything. When it comes to weight loss, it is the law of thermodynamics. Calories in versus calories out. If you're not losing weight, it's 99.9% chance that it's because you're eating more calories than you need. I understand that if you're a woman and you're, on your period, your weight can fluctuate, things can happen, sure. Metabolisms can get damaged through hard dieting and other things, hypothyroidism and all that stuff. I understand that. But the first step is tracking your calories. And I think that's such a basic thing for us because that's something I've been doing that for 16 years.
Right.
I've been doing that for a long time. I've been tracking my calories. And I think that you'll hear a lot of people say, and this is nothing against them because it sounds like a lot of work at first, but I don't want to track calories because I just think it's a lot of work. I understand that. But how else do you expect to lose weight? If you're not doing it through discipline and informed decision, then it's by luck. Yep. And luck is not repeatable and it's not sustainable. So the first point I want to make is if you figure out what your maintenance calories are, so anything over that amount, you will gain weight. Anything under that amount, you will lose weight. It doesn't matter what you're eating. Like, let's just take that off the table right now. If your caloric maintenance is 1,500 calories and you're eating 1,500 calories, you will stay the same. Drop 200 and you'll start losing weight. Add 200 and you'll start gaining weight. So that's why it's so important to find out where your maintenance is because everything works off of that. So I just wanted to start with that.
There's a couple things that I want to clarify about what Kevin just said. And just so everyone knows, I agree 100% with everything he just said. If you are, when he says weight fluctuation though, remember that water retention can change day to day. I don't want you to look too much at the day to day. My clients know this, and they still do it sometimes, to be completely honest. I think one of my clients texted me today and say, I'm going to be so angry if I eat 1,400 calories today and the weight in the scale doesn't drop tomorrow. And I had to remind her, like, if the scale doesn't drop tomorrow, that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means maybe you had higher sodium intake, so your cells are retaining more water, or maybe you're on your period, or whatever it might be. So daily fluctuations, stop worrying so much about the daily fluctuations. You really do need to look at the week-to-week trend. Now, first and foremost, I want to talk about what a calorie actually is.
Sure, Hammer.
A calorie is an energy unit. So a calorie is a calorie. I don't care if it's protein or fat or carbs. It's a calorie. So like Kevin said, if you're every single day on average burning 1,500 calories per day and you're intaking 1,500 calories per day, then the scale will stay the same except for daily fluctuations regarding hormone levels, sodium intake, water retention, that kind of stuff. So the most important thing here, and I have 5 flashcards, I prepped for this. The most important thing in fitness is consistency. And the reason for that is because if you're not consistently doing that which you've set out to do, you don't know where to move. So for example, I'll try to make this as practical as I can. With my clients, I create a system of success. So under each of the pillars, sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility, every week we have a phone call where we talk about the previous week and we rate them on those pillars, and then we create a new system, new goals under each pillar for the next week. Now, if my client does not execute on the plan that we created the previous week, then how do I know what to adjust this week? How do we know? So, for example, if the scale didn't move down, and by the way, I graph their weight over time and their caloric intake over time. So every single day, they send me their weigh-in and their calorie intake from the previous day. So I have week-to-week trends and actual data on their progress or lack thereof. If they want to lose weight, I make sure they're losing at least a pound per week. If they want to gain weight, I make sure they're gaining at least a pound a week, usually a little bit more than that, to be honest. Now, if they're not losing weight, then we just simply say, okay, and I adjust their calories or their training accordingly. Here's the problem. If they didn't execute on the previous plan, how do I know the reason why they didn't lose weight? You can have the best training plan in the world with the best trainer. You can have the most clear, concise map of all time, but no map has ever carried anyone anywhere. You have to take action. I don't care what plan you're on. If you're not doing it, it will not work.
I think it's a great point to say, especially about the fluctuations. I'm glad you added that in there because that's something I just... It's hard when you've been doing it for so long that it's
Right.
like, I just know that's a thing. But
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do freak out about that. Like some days I'll wake up 2 pounds heavier than I did the day before. It's not because I ate more.
Yep.
It's just because maybe I didn't drink enough water. Maybe I drank more water. Like there's
Right.
a lot of things. So the weekly trend is far more important than the daily. But one thing that I wanted to say is I can understand why, if you are seeing these daily fluctuations, you're getting nervous a little bit because maybe you don't have the knowledge and you assume if for you it's out of your control, you're going to start freaking out when things don't seem to go the way they are.
Because you don't know where to move,
Right.
what to do
Right.
differently.
With us, like with my clients.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If things aren't going the way, okay, we'll drop this.
Right.
Oh, we'll go up this.
Right.
Oh, we'll do more of this, less of this. It's just when you know where to put the pieces, it just takes all of the guesswork out of it, and it's just plug and play. This goes here, cool. It's not working, okay, we'll make this change. So I think that's the easiest way to explain it. Is it's really a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
Your calories at the end of the day are a numbers game. If you eat too many, the scale goes this way.
Yep.
If you eat not enough, the scale goes this way, and obviously over a weekly period, not
Not
on the
daily.
day-to-day.
Yep.
I think that another thing that I wanted to talk about, you and I talked about this a little bit in the preamble, is do what's sustainable. So you'll see a lot of people that do these like strange workouts, these quote unquote sexy workouts. It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good to do this. It looks good to do that. It looks good to do this.
Looks good on Instagram land.
Yeah, and you need to do like there are fundamentals
Yep.
that in the long run work, right? So you'll see a lot of people do just hammer cardio. I want to lose weight, do cardio. Cool. That's a short-term fix.
Yes.
Because you're going to get to a point where that doesn't work anymore, and then you have to dial in your calories. Put on muscle. If you put muscle on, having muscle on your frame literally burns calories.
Yes.
The more muscle you have, the more calories you're capable of burning. So that's something that I think a lot of people, especially women, are afraid of. They're afraid to put muscle on their frame.
Yes.
And they'll see these Instagram people and say, like, I want to look like that. Okay, she lifts weight.
Yeah.
She lifts weight. We're good friends with Catherine Minnie but Mighty Nash.
Yep.
She lifts weight. She
Oh,
is
yeah,
strong
heavy.
as hell.
Yeah, right.
So I
she
think
squats more than I do sometimes.
she's strong as hell. And she weighs like 122 pounds or something.
I know. Crazy.
It's insane. So I think that it's a lot of people want to do the sexy thing when you just have to do the sustainable thing, the fundamentals that actually work.
So I could talk about fitness for 3 days.
I know.
I want to try to keep this to the most important pieces because the timer's only got 8 minutes on it left. How do you know that you're mastering something? When you can anticipate the future. The sign of a true master is someone who can quite literally produce the outcomes they want. I'll use an example. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player to ever live. Why? Because he can produce the outcomes he wants, winning championships. He won 3 championships, retired and played baseball, came back and won 3 championships. Why is he considered the greatest master of basketball? Because he can produce a specific outcome that he wants. So first and foremost, you must have a specific desired outcome. This happens to me all the time. And one thing I want to say, if you're out there right now and you don't feel like you've mastered the fitness game, here's how you know you haven't mastered it. If you're winging it, If you feel like you can't get the scale to say the number you want it to say, then you haven't mastered the game. The only reason why I'm saying I've mastered natural fitness, and this is one of the only things I've mastered, is because I can quite literally get that scale to say any number I want it to. And I mean that. I know that's a bold statement, but I'm dead serious. I can get that give me enough time, and I can get that scale to say whatever number I want. Because I know the inputs and outputs. I have my own system of success that works and is repeatable and is sustainable. If you don't feel comfortable with that statement and you don't feel like you're there, get someone who is there. Get around them as much as possible. Maybe it's a trainer, maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's dream team members, maybe it's a gym partner. Get around someone who has the game mastered, because otherwise you will spend your whole life yo-yo dieting, not knowing what you're talking about, and getting quick fixes that do not work. One of the things that I want to say is this. Fitness is always on my radar, and when people talk to me, a lot of times they'll ask me fitness questions. Usually they ask me a question like, how do I do this, this, or this? And I'll say, well, what's your goal? Almost always, their goal is this. I want to be healthy. Here's the problem with that goal. It's way too ambiguous. Healthy? Define that. I'm healthy. If my goal right now was to be healthy, I could quite literally do nothing. Now, eventually, if I did nothing for long enough, I would no longer be healthy. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Trust me. Entropy kills all things over time. Time will either create or destroy something. Now, having a specific target will quite literally produce the system of success that Kevin and I are talking about. When you want a specific outcome, that will design a process underneath it to get that outcome. So, if you don't have a specific target weight that you want to achieve, you are most likely winging it. And I want to encourage you to get more crystal clear about the outcome you want to produce.
So what is, I know I promised this in the outro for the last episode and the intro for this one, what is something that we can add to the listeners or whoever's watching this right now that they can start doing today? Maybe it's not everything, right? Maybe it's not every pillar. Maybe it's not all 5. But from a nutritional standpoint,
right?
From a calories in versus calories out standpoint, because that is how both you and I have achieved our fitness goals, and we try to help others with that as well. I like that framework. You know, it's not as rigid. You don't have to eat chicken and rice every day, which I have done. Trust me, it sucks.
It's the worst.
But and it's more sustainable, I think. I think it's more sustainable. So if somebody's listening to this or watching this, what is something that we can do for them right now, knowledge-wise? Simple steps in order for them to start tracking their calories.
Tracking their calories?
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
Or, I mean, we could do macros, but I think calories is a good segue in.
Okay. MyFitnessPal is the app that I use. You can scan barcodes. The thing about tracking is this. If you're looking for a short-term fix, you're kind of screwed out of the gate. And here's why. With my clients, I hold them accountable to tracking because I make sure that I get their numbers from the previous day. So if they don't track their calories, I don't get the number, therefore I don't know where to adjust week to week, and I get upset, and they don't like that. So they are more accountable to me, and therefore I think that's part of why they pay me. I think the accountability piece is huge. But the real reason why tracking is so good is because it's going to force you to learn about what calories are in what foods. I cannot even tell you how many times I went early in my journey, oh my God, really? That has 300 calories?
Yeah.
And oh my God, this entire plate of chicken and rice is only 250 calories? Like, it's going to raise your awareness in the fitness arena. And so if you're out there right now, and to try to bring this practical, again, I always want to teach because it really matters more what your mindset is than just kind of giving you a workout or giving you a specific technique. What matters more is the system and the mentality and the philosophy around fitness. But what I can tell you is this. Download MyFitnessPal. It's an Under Armour app. They are phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
You can scan barcodes and track your calories. Remember, every single time you put something in your mouth, before you do, just say, wait, I got to track this. And here's the added benefit. Number one, you will know exactly why you're not losing weight if you're not, which is fucking awesome, by the way. Number two, you can eat what you actually want to eat as long as you track it, which is even more awesome. Guilt-free eating is amazing. Number three, it will raise your awareness forever about what calories are in what foods. We were out to dinner for Bianca's birthday, and I ate the whole end of the cake. I think that was probably like 900 calories worth of cake. And people look at me like, how? Because it's all dialed in. It's all dialed in. I literally get to eat all that cake and get closer to my goals. It's the greatest thing ever. Master the fitness game, and you will be able to eat what you actually want, and then everyone will look at you like, how in the hell is that person in shape?
Think about this, man. And this is something that I've heard for years and years. You'll hear people say, like, well, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm drinking vodka tonight. Like, there's not that many calories in vodka. I try again. Yeah, there is.
70 per ounce.
Yeah, an ounce. That's a shot.
Yeah.
That's a shot.
Yeah, man.
When you're looking at like 120 for a Bud Light. Like, just imagine the difference there. And how many shots are you taking a night?
A Bud Light is like a 90 calories.
Excuse me? 120.
Is it 120?
I tracked the one I drank the other day.
Yeah. All right, nice. It's 120.
But I think that's the thing. It's like, okay, if you wanted to make sure that you were making more money, what would you do? You would track your bank account. Mm-hmm. If you were paying me to keep, if I was your financial advisor and you hit me up and said, yo, am I making money or losing money, and why? And I said, I have no idea, man. I'm just winging this. You would fire me on the spot. You would say, yo, what are you even doing?
Right.
That is where a lot of people are when it comes to fitness.
Winging it.
That's the only reason a lot of these crazy diets are even a thing, because they take advantage of people's lack of knowledge.
I know.
That's the only reason. Guys, I could make a hyper-conscious shake and say, well, instead of your breakfast, just eat this. It's 200 calories.
And it'll work for 3 weeks. You'll lose weight because you're in a deficit,
Right.
and then your body will eventually plateau
Right.
because you're not making a change.
Yeah.
Can we discuss plateaus? I think we need to.
Yeah, hammer it.
Okay,
Hammer it.
so
You
let's say Kevin made a hyperconscious podcast shake, and this shake will help you lose weight in 30 days, and if not, money back guarantee, blah, blah, fucking blah. Okay, for the first 3 weeks, you're going to be in a caloric deficit because your breakfast that was 600 calories is now 200, and you replaced it. Okay, you're losing weight. Hell yeah, this is awesome. I'm losing weight. Hell yeah, this is awesome. All I had to do was this one thing. There's something called homeostasis. Homeostasis is a scientific term for your body will always adapt over time to what it is doing. Evolution has wired human beings to be the most adaptable creatures on the planet, in my opinion. In other words, let's say you were eating 1,800 calories per day, and then Kevin sells you a hyperconscious podcast shake, and there's the timer, and now your 600 calorie breakfast goes from 600 to 200. Now that's 400 calories less per day. Therefore, from 1,800, now you're eating 1,400 calories per day, okay? So you were eating 1,800, now you're eating 1,400. For the first week, you're going to be in a deficit. But here's what happens. Your metabolism slows down over time. So for the first week, you're going to lose, let's say, maybe a pound. The second week, maybe 0.75 pounds. The third week, maybe a half a pound. The fourth week, maybe a quarter pound. Eventually, you're going to stop losing weight. And that diet is no longer going to work. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to get unmotivated, and you're going to say, that shake didn't work. The reason it didn't work is because you didn't know why it was working, so you can't double down on it. Homeostasis is always happening. So your metabolism is either revving up or down at any given time based on what you are or not eating. So when I'm in a muscle building phase, my goal is to rev my metabolism, train as hard as I possibly can, stimulate as much muscle mass as I possibly can, and to build muscle. Yes, I will gain some fat. If my goal is to shred up, my primary focus is to eat less than my caloric intake, less than my maintenance calories, and to burn fat while retaining muscle and train for strength. I guess the way that we can make this most practical as possible, start tracking your daily caloric intake and start tracking your daily weigh-ins when you first wake up in the morning, step on the scale after you pee but before you eat anything. Graph it. If week to week you are not losing weight, you need to either train more or eat less, or a combination of both. If the scale is moving in the right direction at the right rate, don't change anything. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's keep doing what you're doing until what you're doing doesn't work, and then make adjustments. And I think the biggest thing is most people don't know what adjustments to make. So that's what we're trying to, maybe it won't work right away. Like if I could just throw a number out there and say if you're a woman, start with X amount of calories, but there's no guarantee that would work. You have to find the calories that are going to work for you. And we're just talking about calories. There's a whole micronutrients, macronutrients, all that. We're just going to give you the basics because I want you guys to leave this with more knowledge and not overwhelming knowledge either. Knowledge that you can use. MyFitnessPal, you can scan the barcode. You can search chicken. You can search, Fruit Loops. You can search banana. You can search McDonald's. You can search Chick-fil-A, Dunkin' Donuts, all the things. You can search them. I challenge you to track what you're eating for a week and see what you're eating. And if it doesn't blow your mind, then I would be surprised because I'm the same way, guys. When I'm not tracking, I know what I'm eating. Like I know 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is 190.
Mm-hmm. We should do that. I want to show the listeners that our level of awareness is higher. Earlier, I said 90 calories in a Bud Light. He immediately said, no, it's 120. Why? I don't drink anymore, guys. If I did, I'd know that. He drank one the other day, and he knows.
It was good.
Okay, how many calories in a banana?
It depends on the size of banana.
Medium banana.
120 is what I put.
Exactly. I put 110. Okay. How many calories in an apple?
Geez. I believe it's 90 to 120 again. I think I do 90.
Yeah, I do 90 as well. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, an ounce of chicken, cooked.
Oh, see, no, that's not, that's not my...
47 calories.
Yeah, see, I'm not good with that.
Okay.
Because I don't eat chicken that often.
That's true. Okay, what's something else that Kevin eats?
Ground turkey.
Okay.
It depends. So if you're looking at 99% fat-free, it's like 120, 130. If you're looking at 97.3, it could be 150 to 170. And then if you're looking at
85,
15, shout out to T-Mac.
Yeah.
You're looking at like, what was it, 220?
Dude, it was 250 or something.
Something ridiculous.
It's the worst.
But guys, like
It's an awareness thing.
Yeah.
We want you to become hyper-conscious in this arena so you can win the game. This podcast is about raising your level of awareness in a certain arena so that you can succeed.
And I think if you're listening, if you're watching, and you're having these initial like pushbacks of, I don't know, guys, that sounds like a lot of work. If you want to be fit, if you want to feel capable and in control of your fitness and your weight loss and your weight gain and your muscle gain, and knowing that in 4 months it's bikini season, I'm going to look the best I ever have, this is necessary. Like, you need to do this because it's like Alan said, you're going to become more aware, and the more aware you are, the more results you're going to have. That's just how it is. Maybe hiring a coach is for you, fine. Mm-hmm. But also, if you want to try this on your own, I challenge you to track your food for a day. Start with a day. Start with however many meals you have and put it in the calculator, put it in MyFitnessPal, and see. Then track for 2 days. Track for a week and see. See what you're averaging for the week. If it's over your maintenance, that's why you're gaining weight. And I think that's the first step. The first step is just becoming aware of what's happening, and then you can make the adjustments.
And why it's happening. This whole podcast, if you're listening right now, we say this at the end of every episode. If you don't know why something is the way that it is, you do not have the power to change it. We want to raise your level of awareness as to why you're getting the outcomes that you get. The last thing I want to say in this episode is that with my clients, I have 2 primary goals. Number 1 is to change their relationship to the scale. And number 2, to change their relationship with food. I see so many people that struggle their entire life with fitness. Food equals I get fat. The scale equals pain. Bullshit. It doesn't have to be that way. I step on the scale every single day. I weighed 192 this morning. Okay, I was 189 the other day. That doesn't freak me out. Why? Because I've played this game before. I understand exactly where I'm headed, and I can eat whatever foods I want to get me there. Sometimes I'm hungry, when I'm in a deficit and my calories start getting really low. Sometimes I'm force-feeding food to rev my metabolism when I'm in a surplus or a bulk. The goal is to master the game. It is kind of a numbers game. And when you start becoming aware of what calories are in what foods and what outcomes, if I could show you my clients' graphs right now, I graph 3 things. Number 1, weigh-ins over time, every single day. Number 2, calories per day over time. Number 3, water intake over time. I could show you the correlation between those graphs, and it would blow your mind. If you have a toxic relationship with the scale, or you have a toxic relationship with food, here's the crazy thing. Kevin and I use food. Food does not use us. Why? because we understand that it is fuel for our goals. Whereas other people are like, oh, this cake equals pleasure, but it's at the expense of my goals. So they have this toxic relationship of, well, it feels good, but it kind of sucks too. Imagine if you could live in a world where you got to eat whatever the fuck you want and get closer to your goals. I'm telling you right now, that is the life I live. It is wonderful. Ask Jenny, ask Kevin. I eat Ben and Jerry's. Like, I get to eat what I want. Sometimes I don't, at the tail end of these eras, of these bulks and cuts. But I want you to imagine a world where you get to eat the foods you love and get closer to your goals. And the only way that you can live that life is if you do what Kevin and I are saying and become more aware of what actually matters.
One of the things my clients will attest to, I always say, like, guys, I tell you this all the time. I eat ice cream every night.
Yeah.
Not as much now.
Yeah.
But when I was from like 16 to 26, I ate ice cream every single night.
Yeah.
But
no exaggeration.
It was accounted
with
for.
all the fixins too.
Yeah, with all the fixins.
Yeah.
Just one thing before we head off. I also want another myth that you and I have both heard. We've heard it together. Is, well, I'm eating really healthy foods. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
When it comes to tracking calories or macros in general, if it fits your macros, however you're going to do it, I want you to eat what you want, but I do want you to make sure you're making nutritious choices, making sure you're having salads, micronutrients, all that stuff. Now, you could literally eat chicken, broccoli, and rice for every meal. You can eat the healthiest foods, whatever you consider healthy. If you eat too much of them, you will gain weight. So it's not as much about what you're eating, it's more about how much you're eating. That is the thing that we're trying to focus on. Yep. I want you to make healthy food decisions, but I want you to, become aware of the amount. The amount makes the difference.
I have to say one more thing. I feel very compelled to say this, and then we'll get to the dramatic reading. I know we're going way over here.
Oh, yeah.
But I think this is super important. What do most people do? They have a wedding coming up, or they have spring coming up, or they have bikini season coming up, or they have a high school reunion coming up, and they say, oh, shit, I got to get in shape. They go from not tracking anything to suddenly eating chicken salads. So they're going from probably around 2,500 to 3,000 calories per day to now all of a sudden, guess what? Chicken salads have very little calories in them. Now they are eating 1,200 calories per day. Okay, and they're going to the gym now too. In the gym. Now they're exercising more, therefore their caloric output is higher. They're burning more calories, and they're eating less calories. So they lose a ton of weight really fast. How many times have you heard someone, if you're out there right now, say, I lost 15 pounds this month? Folks, you tanked your metabolism. You lose 15 pounds in 1 month. Where do you go from there? You went from 3,000 calories a day to not training at all to now 1,200 calories a day and you're training 6 days a week. What happens when you're eating 1,200 calories a day and training for 6 days a week for an hour? The only way you can lose more weight after you lost that initial 15 pounds is to either train more or eat less. How do you eat less when you're already eating almost nothing? You're starving. How do you train more when you're already in the gym 7 days a week? That's the plateau. So then what do people do? They fall off the habit because they're not motivated anymore. Why are they not motivated anymore? Because the scale was moved 15 pounds in 1 month and now it stopped moving. Of course you're not motivated. You're not getting results anymore. So now what do? You fall off your habits. You stop altogether. You go to that wedding or whatever. You're pretty reasonably happy. But then you gain it all back and sometimes even more. This is called yo-yo dieting. Most people lose 90 pounds, the same 10 pounds 9 times. I have an old friend of mine who I worked with for years who lost 125 pounds. One of my clients has lost 130 pounds. That's not the same 10 pounds 13 times. That's 130 pounds over time. How did he do it? He learned the game. He graphed his numbers. He tracked his caloric input, and he never stopped. And he did bulks and cuts and weight trained. So I know this is a super overwhelming episode.
Yeah.
This is my arena, so I'm sorry that I probably overwhelmed the hell out of you. But I guess the one decision you need to make if you ever want to be naturally fit for life is that you must master the game. You cannot sit there and get a diet program or a training program. You have to decide, I'm going to learn how to do this myself.
I think you got to want it. You got to want it. And maybe, honestly, and I'll disagree with Alan, maybe you don't have to master it. Maybe you have to hire somebody who has mastered it. Maybe if this is overwhelming to you and that's your thing, that's fine too. That's fine too. But make sure you have to want it. You have to want the change. And you have to be willing to do some stuff It might be uncomfortable. It might be scary. It might be new. It might be challenging at first, but everything is. Is it worth it to you or not? If it's worth it to you, then that's the road you need to take. And, I hope we added some knowledge here. I know we definitely overwhelmed everybody, I'm sure, but but this is the shit that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
This is the shit that we do every single day.
Yep.
And I want you guys to feel as confident and capable as we are. Like Alan said, I'm very confident I can make the scale say any number at any given time. That's my thing. Right. I've been doing it for years. So I want you guys to have the same thing. Just like when it comes to the mindset we have and the gratitude practices, and all of those things. I want you to have the same success and competency that we have.
Absolutely. Why are abs the most valued thing? Because they're the hardest to get. Nothing worth having comes easy. If you want to be extraordinary, you're not going to be able to just do ordinary stuff. Learn this game. Hire someone who knows what you don't know. Learn from them. It can be Kevin. It can be me. It can be Catherine. It can be whoever.
Anybody.
It can be anybody.
Anybody you trust and you resonate with.
Right. Just make sure that they're not on drugs.
Right.
Unless that's what you want to do, and there's not. That's a whole other thing. So I've got my dramatic reading.
Dramatic reading time!
And I wrote this earlier today. And again, I want to apologize if we overwhelmed you. We just stirred the pot a lot. But I think what lands...
This is like an old episode.
What lands is going to be great. Okay. I had someone reach out earlier today about their fitness struggles. This person was on fire at the gym and was taking consistent action every day toward her goals until she got derailed. Have you ever felt that way? I know I have. And it can be scary when you don't know what the F happened. Why don't I feel motivated anymore? Why can't I seem to get my ass to the gym? After reading through her challenges, I noticed something very specific that happened. She had a conversation with someone that rattled her cage, and without realizing it, it limited her belief in what's possible for her. And the reason I mention this is because without a strong level of certainty and an undying belief in what's possible for you, all action stops. For who among us pays a price today for a promise you don't believe will come? So if you're out there right now and you feel unmotivated, check your beliefs. Because for consistent action toward any goal to occur, there are 3 subconscious beliefs that must be rock solid. Number 1, your goal is attainable. Number 2, you will achieve it no matter how difficult or how long it takes. And number 3, it will all be worth it when you do. That last one is a kicker, guys. Because a lot of people say, yeah, I can do this, and yeah, I'm going to eventually attain this no matter how long it takes, but they don't believe it'll be worth it. Somewhere deep down, they don't know if it'll be worth all the effort. You have to believe it will be worth it. And by the way, it will. It definitely will. Okay, so ask yourself, do I have all 3 of these beliefs when it comes to achieving my dream physique, my fitness goals? If the answer isn't hell yes, then the answer is probably no, and that's why you're not taking consistent action. That means it's time to go and get your certainty back in whatever way possible. I hope that we gave you some certainty that you can do it and a pathway to do that on this episode. Hire a coach or get around people way ahead of you who believe in possibilities. Surround yourself with ambition and people who have the results you want. They'll help you believe again. Remember, uncertainty is the killer of all positive action. Some people spend their whole life on the fence. Please don't let that be you. Decide today what's possible for you and then reinforce that belief every day with positive action. Folks, I didn't know a goddamn thing about fitness 4 years ago until I met my fitness coach, Nate Smithson. He's a dear, dear friend of mine. He taught me everything I know. He taught Matt and Kevin a lot, and I surrounded myself with people who had results I wanted and who were the type of people I aspired to be. If you're out there right now and you struggle with belief, the best way to attain belief, as Kevin's mentioned so many times, is to get around people who believe in themselves. And by the way, when they have the result you want, you kind of have to believe it's possible because they have it.
Yeah, that's unbelievably true. That's unbelievably true. I hope that, like Alan said, we added some knowledge. We didn't overwhelm you. I just think that Alan and I are so passionate about this because you can see us when we talk about mindset. You can hear us. You can say, like, oh, you guys speak very confidently and you guys have the knowledge and the science. But it's like you can look at us and we have the results when it comes to fitness. We've put out so many thousands of hours in the gym, so many gyms. And I want you to have the confidence that we have. I genuinely do, because I have heard so many people say that they're not confident and bikini season's coming and they're not ready or whatever, board shorts or, wanting to take their shirt off in front of their girlfriend, like whatever it is. I don't want you guys to have to go through that. Just like I don't want you guys to have to go through the depression I went through, the suicidal thoughts I went through. I want you to be hyper-conscious in every aspect of life that you want to be. And if you want fitness, which most people do, I hope this episode helped you and we didn't overwhelm you.
I couldn't agree more. Fitness is what I believe to be the greatest form of self-development. I think it will help you become more action-oriented, and it'll inspire everyone in your life. Master this game.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we clearly enjoyed and got fired up recording it. Up next, we have an episode featuring David Meltzer. He is one of the top 100 business coaches in the world. He is also one of the top 10 keynote speakers on the planet. He is a next-level entrepreneur. He is an author. He's a podcaster. He basically is everything. He is unbelievably impressive. We were lucky enough to chat with him, and it was a next-level episode.
Folks, Dave Meltzer has been a millionaire and gone from millionaire to broke back to millionaire. His mindset is super fascinating. Do not miss this episode, and we will talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening to another episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast.
Going hyperconscious will absolutely change your life, because if you understand why something is the way it is, now you have the power to change it. If you going hyperconscious with us has changed your life in any way, please share this episode with one of your friends, because the more people that go hyperconscious, the better this world's going to be for everybody.
And if you would kindly leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would help us make more people hyperconscious, and we would be greatly appreciative.
Thank you.
Bye.